Hello everyone, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and present to you our work at L'Oreal in terms of governance of API. So my name is Marina Passoubady. I am a business API product owner.
And me, I'm Liliana Jena, and I'm API product owner. And together with Marina, we are here to talk a little bit about the governance at L'Oreal. So, firstly, to talk a little bit about our team, how we are organized at L'Oreal. So, we are a center of enablement that we are organized into streams. So we have a technical stream that is in charge with the platforms, the technical platform, the EDA and the API experts. They are putting in place a framework to enable all the team to publish APIs and to have a decentralized way of publish APIs. And also they are in charge with the technical platforms. And another stream, it's where me and Marina, we are working, and we try to put in place the governance, to work with the API product owners at L'Oreal, to enforce the governance around APIs, technical API, business APIs, to give the right support and to work together with the architecture and to put in place the strategy of the governance around APIs. Firstly, why we need governance? As we saw in the presentation before, the world is going very fast today. The application landscape, it's very rich and is changing very quickly. And we need to deliver projects at speed, at scale, when we are an organization that it's present in 3 regions, and we have to do the rollout of our application in an agile way. So if we don't, the APIs is the right technology to put it in place, but if we don't have the right governance, the things are not very simple. So if we want to have the omnichannelity, if we want to concentrate more on the innovation and not on the integration, if we want to speed and to be adapted to the ecosystem, so we need to have in place the right governance around APIs, and this L'Oreal started a few years ago. When we saw at L'Oreal, the governance was not the point that was there. So the data was in all the application. Each data could have the same business meaning, but the taxonomy was totally different. So no ownership of the data. The API was there, but also the API was we had only 3 or 4 APIs to do the same things. So we were in the, as we said, data anarchy at L'Oreal a few years ago. In 2019, our organization realized that it's very important to have a clear strategy and a clear governance around data, and put it in place an organization of data governance. And they established that each data needs to have an ownership, that each data needs to be aligned between application and to understand who is consuming what. And here, the APIs came to enforce this strategy and to be hand-to-hand with the data governance, and to have the same strategy on the API also. So today, to have a good control, who has accessibility to data, and how it's consumed this data. So what we put it in place, we put the API strategy, the data strategy, to have a clear ownership on the data and the accessibility to data, to understand who is consuming what, to have a standardization of the data, as we said, to have the same naming convention, the same taxonomy on all the application for the same business object, and also on the design of the API to use the same taxonomy and the same description that it's on the data catalog. So we have a data catalog that we have a clear description of the data, and also the API, the modelization of the API, it's in line with this data catalog. In this way, we improved the quality of the data because we control exactly what type of data is used for which reason. And we can ensure also the security because it's very important to have accessibility to data, but it's important to understand who get access to different type of data. Yes, we have a clear benefit to have all this in place, to have standardization, harmonization, and to reuse. Because one of the things is that we put in place API with a clear governance for a good reusability. But to put in place the governance, it's quite a challenge because we need the people to be trained to take their responsibility, to understand what we are expecting for them, and to be very careful in how they organize this data and how all the governance around data and API should work. And so the security and design also are some challenge, and also on the design side, when we have to put in place API with the governance on the business side, you need to have the right tools to design the APIs, because after that, it's not very easy for business people to understand how to build and how to drive this governance around APIs. At L'Oreal, we have three types of category of APIs. So we have the three layers. We have the technical APIs with the governance on the application side. We have the business API, the canonical model, the business that represent a business object, and the governance is on the business side. And we have consumer APIs that are more dedicated to the use cases. Also, on the data side, we have exactly the same way to organize our data on the data platform. So we have the raw data that represent the data that is sourced directly from the systems. We have the shared domain data set. We say it's a good, it's a common layer where it's came the definition of each data and take the sense of a business object. And also we have the consumption layer where the use cases could have the right granularity of the data. So we have this, as we said, we have the system APIs that are the APIs that are exposed directly by the systems. Today we are working with a lot of SaaS applications, and we know that we cannot ask for them to organize their data model and to expose the data in the taxonomy that L'Oreal wants. So here at L'Oreal, we have for each application that it's a SaaS application, we have someone in L'Oreal side that is the application owner of this application, and also he becomes the owner of all the APIs that are exposed by this application on the L'Oreal ecosystem, on APG. In our side, it's our gateway. The business API are the canonical model, the API that could have a meaning for the business. That, for example, I have here the consumer profile. We know that we can have multiple websites, applications, and we want to collect consumer data. And if we don't have a model a business description of the model could be quite difficult to do the integration of all the data that are coming to different websites, different mobile applications, to different CRMs. As we are an organization that it's spread in 3 regions, we have different type of CRM because the regulation asks for them to have the data should be on the regional territory. So here, if we want to accelerate and to have a clear description of the model, so we need to have a governance on the business object, and this governance is on the business side. So if we want to succeed to our governance and to have the right governance, we need to have a clear strategy. It's important that the strategy on the data and the APIs to go hand to hand, because we cannot have a strategy on the API, only on the API, on the governance of the API, if it's not linked with the data strategy. We need a clear culture. We need the people to be trained to understand what is the aim and what they need to what we are expecting for them. We need the right technology, because if we don't have the right technology, we cannot accelerate our strategy, and we need clear processes that should be shared around the organization. And how we put all this in place, I will give the hand to Marina to explain you.
Thank you, Liliana. So let's move forward on how at L'Oréal we put in place the governance of API. So before presenting to you our 3 mainstream, few words about the strategy organization. So at L'Oréal, APIs are aligned with the data governance strategy. Why? Because in 2020, L'Oréal businesses were split into 18 data domains with a dedicated ownership and governance. So this is why APIs are fully aligned with this data domain to ensure the data consistency and the governance. When we talk about governance, people is key. So we have data product owner and API product owner that are held by the same person at L'Oréal, and this person has the ownership of the governance of API, which means to take responsibilities such as managing API as a product, managing the API lifecycle, measure the usage of this API, collaborate, connect with IT teams, document these APIs, and so on. Our 3 levels of action, so training, governance, and enablement, and we're working on a continuous improvements approach. So first, training. How to spread the knowledge of the governance to arouse interest in APIs. We choose to provide different trainings and by presenting the API basics, so what is an API, what type of API you can find at L'Oréal. We also explain our processes, the different steps, and the RACI, which is the key question actually, who is who and who does what in the different step. It's also, we also share best practices and rules, such as the API naming convention. That could be actually obvious, but it's really important to communicate on that, to make sure that when you propose an API catalog, to ensure uniformity of the API naming and make it easier for every user that consults this catalog. We also share demo of our tools, such as our API marketplace, our API portal, and the Gravity API Designer, which is a tool with a user-friendly interface that make it easy for the business to put a step into the design phase and start building API documentation. Our target first is the API product owner for business API, but also systems API. Project manager, even if they're not actually in APIs, we want them to introduce the subject about APIs and the governance. And of course, architects that are involved in the design of API, and integration team that are involved in the implementation and work really closely with the product owners. After each of our sessions, we make a real focus on feedbacks that help us to improve our materials, improve our speech, and we also organize one-to-one session to clarify the different points. We make it really big importance to that everyone that completed the training has no doubt and the governance has been well understood. Our second part, the governance. Our role here is to build a really strong relation, transversal collaboration between the teams to set up our processes, to also give a frame with a global framework that automatize, simplify, and make it faster on our different processes, such as the API publication or API subscription. As I said before, API product owners are key, so our role is also to empower these people to make sure that they will drive the governance of API in the right path and be like an ambassador of the API. About people, so they remain the same, API product owner, project manager, architect, and IT teams. And as I said before, processes, we want to be really close to their needs, so for business needs and IT needs, so the daily usage and their feedback also help us to improve these processes. And in terms of enablement, our role here is to push everybody to go to action, which means to endorse API product owner, to build business APIs, to share our training materials, the processes, video tutorials, step-by-step instruction in our API portal, our API marketplace. We want this portal to be the central point in terms of information about the governance, the API catalog, but the build, the implementation should be like decentralized between the different IT teams with the product owner. That is why we make us available to support by co-implementing the first API with product owner and IT teams to make it easy to connect with the different teams, and then next time they will be more autonomous on their next API implementation. In terms of people, it remains the same, product owners, architects, project manager, and IT teams. And as we're working in a continuous improvements approach, we want to be more agile. So daily usage, feedbacks, their struggle or their concern also help us to identify our improvement axis in terms of our processes, and also to identify features that could be helpful to add in our tools, such as the API marketplace, and work with also Gravity team to improve the API designer. To conclude with a few words, so today 70 people have completed the training, including 30 DPOs that are already working on APIs. So we are really actually confident and optimistic that API will be more and more adopted. Our role mainly is to make a good cohesion with the different teams, that they feel valued by the ownership in the governance. So in the years to come, we hope that API will be more adopted, and the relationship between IT and business team will be more and more stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you have any questions?
Une question là-bas. Une question là. Ah oui.
Yes.
Attends. Tiens.
Merci. Thank you. I've understood your model of governance in terms of the tools you have also chosen with enablement and training, all these other aspects. When I looked at your org chart, you looked like a central unit and trying to enforce something. How does that work? I mean, beyond the tools, who accepts that what you have defined as governance? How does this work out in daily life? I mean, was there a management buy-in at some sort and a clear guidance, or how did this develop to such a solid approach?
Yes, so the tool that we choose to enforce and to upskill our population. It's choose together with the architecture team. And also, me as a previous experience, I'm coming from the project team, and I know that you need to be to be independent and to be autonomous in deploying your API, to manage the life cycle of your APIs. So we try to be very close to the real life, to get feedback, as we said, from the real life, and to understand exactly what are the needs, and not only from what are the needs in France or in MEA, because we have 3 regions, and we try to build the framework and the tool adapted for the 3 regions. And all the time, trainings and feedback.
Okay, I think we have run out of time, but maybe you can answer some questions offline as well. Yes?
Thank you
very
so much.
Thank you. Excellent.